Get close to you.
Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the Bassin Magazine podcast. Bassin Magazine, the official magazine of the Weekend Angler. And with us tonight, we have Jacob Foote, outdoor writer extraordinaire for Bassin Magazine. How are you doing tonight, Jacob?
I'm doing great. I appreciate it, Jay, for this opportunity to talk to you. So
Yes, we're looking forward to talking to you. Also with us tonight, we have Brad Yole of Bassin Magazine.
Yep.
How you doing tonight, Brad?
Hey, I'm good, Jay. Thanks for having us on. I'm excited to talk to Jacob. He's what an angler. I'm excited.
That's what I said in the write-up. I talked to Jacob a couple nights ago and decided he personifies what we mean by the weekend angler. Just because you're a weekend angler doesn't mean you're not an extraordinary fisherman.
Right. So with elaborating on that, that's kind of what helps Bassin Magazine is that we reach out to the people that weekend anglers or people that can't be on the water 24/7. So it's just a way just to utilize and basically get to the point, so anybody can go out there and have a good day on the water. So
that's the point of all of it, right? Help you catch more fish.
Right.
Absolutely. The weekend angler doesn't have time to take Monday through Wednesday to search for fish. He's got to go out there Saturday morning and he just goes to his spots,
Right.
So
right.
so Jacob, you
Yes,
fish from the shore too, don't you?
I'm sorry.
You fish from the shore too?
Oh yeah. So it's like everybody, you start somewhere, and about 99% of the people they start fishing from ponds, and so that's where I generally tell my followers or anybody is go back to your roots. Where did you start learning to fish, and then also what got you excited? What was your drive to say, hey, this is fun, I enjoy this, and so. With everybody just knowing for the bank. So how do you incorporate that once you decide to go to the lake and fish the lake? How can you use what you learn on a pond and take it to the lake? So vice versa.
Well, think about it. Think about, I've fished with a lot of bass anglers over the years, lots and lots and lots of them. I'm sure Brad has too. Doing what we do, you just get invited to fish with a lot of people. The first thing, the greatest bass anglers I've ever been with, they run 10 miles down the lake and they fish the shore. But, I'm not making fun of them. I thank each and every guy who's ever taken me fishing.
Yeah.
But most people don't know how to fish the shore. Most bank anglers, they want to cast out as far as they can possibly cast. And they just cast it right over 95% of the fish.
Right. So it's just like you said, it just kind of reiterate on that. So when you got you start out on ponds. Okay. So that's what I try to tell everyone. A lot of people may disagree, but, they take off, they run a whole tank of gas looking for fish. Now, so this is how I want to say it. You pick a cove or a creek or a part of the lake and you treat that as a pond. Not every fish in that cove is going to leave. Now, there are some scenarios where, fish will leave. But not all of them will leave. Most of your fish will stay in an area because there's fish. As long as there's fish food, there's crawdads. As long as they got something to eat, they're going to stay in that. So as something to kind of help anglers that are getting into the sport or weekend anglers is don't worry about the whole entire lake. Only worry about that cove and then go back to the basics. So a lot of times, I know you guys do, when you do a lot of tournaments or just outplay fishing, and you just don't get bit. Well, what's the first thing you do on the way home? You're thinking, what should I have done differently? Right. So as what I would say is you come up with your basic stuff. You start off with your top water. There's one method. Then you start off with small plastic baits or whatever, or that'd be number 2. Okay. Number 3, you want to maybe throw a spinner bait, swim bait, or something that's a moving bait. And then, my 4th option would probably be a jig or something that imitates a crawdad. So then, okay, I got my 4 lures. I'm covering my 4 water columns, shallow, mid-range, upper, and then my lower bank. So taking that idea from a pond, you go around. Then you start thinking, okay, what am I hitting? I'm hitting gravel. I didn't get bit on gravel. Okay, now what I'm looking for, oh, there's wood. So do I want to go fish the wood? Okay, well, I didn't get bit on wood. So what's next? Is there grass? Okay, so make that middle line. You're going to fish pea gravel. You're going to fish boulder rocks, grass, a channel, creek channel, standing timber. And even when I say wood, I'm not saying just like forest. I'm even talking about all your laydowns, like trees in the water, fell in the water, any kind of wood structure that fish can relate to. And then if you're up to be on the lake, you could say, well, you could throw in the factor of boat docks. But
yes,
so you just kind of break down. And what you do is you got to get that mindset. You're fishing at a pond, quit looking at the whole picture. Look at your small picture that you are capable of controlling. And then there are fish in there. You just got to figure out what they're on. And I think if you could break that down on the way home, you won't be so clustered. What should I've done? Because you covered it all.
I like what you said. I really like what you said when, I don't know if you know who Dave Maurice is. He was the former owner of Venom Lures. I fished with him. I had the pleasure of fishing with him up on Lake Erie.
Right.
25 years ago. So it shows you how old I am. But I said, Lake Erie is intimidating. Look how much water. He goes, no. Lake Erie is nothing more than a bunch of spots. And, there were 30 knot winds. And he said, you know what? We're going to stay in this harbor right now. This is our spot. And watch what we do. And on our little spot, we found 10 little spots on this little spot in a harbor. And we caught smallmouth bass all day long. We didn't catch any 5-pounders.
Right.
I don't care. I was a boy from northern Illinois. And catching smallmouth bass all day long between 2 and 3 pounds was one of the most thrilling things I had ever done. And I was like 25 years old, fishing almost all the time. Didn't have any kids. I was a brand new outdoor writer. I was fishing almost every day.
Well,
wow.
With that being said, I guarantee that you picked up a favorite bait because that was one of your best days of catching fish.
Yeah, it was a tube. The first time I ever tubed. I came home and I called Dave. I said, can you send me some tubes? And he sent me 3 pounds of them.
Right. The irony of that, like if I'm throwing a particular bait and I just have a phenomenal day. So people ask me all the time, so what lures do I throw? Well, I always go back to just throw your confidence bait. So
yes.
Apparently you had your good day. Let's just say I'm throwing a particular bait and I caught 1 million fish on them. And then Brad, he has the exact same lure, same everything. And he's like, man, I can't get bit. I don't have no trust or faith or confidence in this. I'm not throwing it. No, so he'll just throw it down in the box and never use it. So, and you're the same way. You have your favorite bait, your confidence bait. So keeping that in mind, I think is really important. Is because if you go into a game, as far as fishing tournament, pond hopping, competition with your buddies, whatever, you're going to go to the number one lure that that works.
Right.
And that's going back to the basics. If you
we have a comment, Jacob. We have a comment from one of our viewers. It's Cajun Rob.
Yeah.
And he said that you gave him some very good info. He likes the way that you broke down the water.
Right. That's awesome. Well, so like I said, it's okay. So we factored in you're covering your water column. Okay. Then you got to do a mental breakdown. I had to actually write it down. Okay. I want to start out shallow in back coves or in the shallow of the pond. And then I'm going to work my way out. So you start with your top water, then you go small baits, then you go your mid-range, and then you go your bottom bait. Then once you establish that, you got your structure that you want to fish. And without getting too technical, water color, water temperature, what time of the year it is, fish will stage. And this is an analogy I told one gentleman at a tackle show was all fish don't eat at the same time. So what I'm going to say, all fish is like popcorn. Okay. Every popcorn, when you put it in the microwave, does not pop at the same time. They all pop at different times. So you got to think of fish as that way. Just because they're not biting this minute, don't mean they won't be biting 30 minutes from now. They're there. You just got to figure out what triggers them. So, and then having your confidence bait, you will get the bite.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. I like the wacky rig. It's my favorite way to fish.
Right.
In fact, when I would guide, that was 95% of what I did because I knew I could catch fish on it. And they didn't have to impart much action into it. It was easy. And also, it only had one little hook in it, which meant I had a smaller percentage chance of being hooked by a back cast by an inexperienced angler.
Right. With Jacob saying, hey, this is how I break down a lake, this is what is so important with kayak anglers, because, if they're fishing and they don't have a motor, or they're just paddling, not even pedaling, they've got to break down the area that they're in and figure it out, because there's no, hey, let's fire up the big motor and go 30 miles down the lake. Of course, you can load up and go back, but then you're unloading and all that. So it's really important that anglers break down the area that they're in and figure it out, especially kayak anglers. But I mean, what he said goes for anybody, whether you're fishing a pond, whether you're fishing a lake, whether you're kayak fishing, whether you're fishing a river, whatever.
Yeah. So
I completely agree with that, man. Particularly with kayak angling. Yeah, it's a pain to pack up and move with a kayak, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be. Yeah.
So now that we kind of touched bases on, the condition, on how we kind of tackle or analyze how we want to tackle a pond or lake or river or something like that. So if any of you all have seen my past, advertisements or whatever. So I'm known as the angler that I always try to find something that's just a little bit different than what other anglers are throwing. So especially if you're fishing a higher pressure lake, okay, let's back up to a pond. Okay, I went to a pond, I just absolutely crushed him on this particular lure, the particular size. Went to Walmart, bought every one of them they had. Okay, went back there the following weekend, I never got bit. So, and then you put a different color, different bait, and then here they come again, they bite all again. So you always keep in mind, and I'm that way, I'm the angler. What can I do to make it different? And then I'm sure we have viewers asking, okay, what do you do? Brad, I don't know. I've been guilty of this 100 times. If I'm buying a crankbait, I take all of them off the shelf and I'm shaking every one of them.
Right.
Every one of them. And the one that sounds different, that's the one I'm buying. And that just helps set me a little different than what, other people might be throwing.
Well, if there's 10 baits on the shelf and one of them sounds different,
right,
now you're automatically throwing something different than the other 9 that buy that bait.
Exactly. So that's just something that I go off of. And then a lot of things I like to do is look for custom shops, that make their own baits and stuff like that. And you're not only supporting a family trying to make it in this industry, but a lot of times they come up with stuff that's pretty cool, but they just haven't got it out there yet. So that's another thing I like to do, just be a little different on that. So
I completely agree with this. Something that's a little different, That's one thing I like about tournaments, and I'm convinced that it's tournaments that push the envelope with the fishing lure industry.
Right.
With the tournament anglers, they're always trying to do something different. That's where wacky rigging came from.
Right.
And now there's probably 15 different variations on wacky rigging. There's tubing. There's 10 different ways you can hook a tube now.
Right.
And they all work, in different conditions. But then again, they also all work in the same condition because it just has a little bit different action. When they see something that they think is a crawfish, and it goes off to the left, then the next time it goes off to the right, they're like, man, that crawfish is in bad shape. And that will trigger a bite because predators just automatically go after something that looks like it's dying.
Right. Yeah. Easy meal. But what's an easy meal about a stick bait on a jig head that's just standing in the water, or a Cinco that's wacky rigged, a Ned rig, a wacky rig? I mean, there's no action to that bait, but man, fish eat it. It's a dying minnow. That's the only,
right.
It's an easy meal.
Yeah. And that's what you got to also remember is not to overcomplicate it. What is the main mindset of any animal, as a matter of fact, as a fish or deer or whatever? Their mindset is, how do I eat, where do I get comfortable at, and how do I survive?
Back to basics. I love it.
I
love it.
And I mean, he's right. It's any animal. I mean, a bass is a predator. I mean, it's it's going to go out there. A lion, a group of lions is going to pick off the weakest gazelle, because it's dying, it's weak. I mean, bass will do the same thing. So if you can present an injured meal, that's what they're going to eat.
Right.
I like that, Jacob. You brought up the 3 basic things that fish need: cover, food, and the right water temperature.
Yeah. So that goes in hand. Like I said, when you take that cove or whatever, or that section of the lake, and you cut that off and don't worry about everything else. There's bait fish there. There's things for them to eat. Then you start looking for, the structure. So, a lot of guys are thinking, okay, bass are predators. So what do? They like to hide in shadow areas. They like to hide in logs and stuff. So, and I actually got a question asked to me earlier today is, okay, so you have extremely muddy water versus clear water. So how would you fish that differently? So just put yourself in this scenario. Go to your room, turn off all the lights. Okay, you can't see. So what are you going to do? The first thing you're going to go to is to the wall. Then you can follow the perimeter of the room around. That's exactly muddy water. It gets so muddy, a fish can't see. They can't see 2 or 3 inches. What are they going to do? They're going to swim to structure. They're going to swim to the bank, trees, or whatever, and they're going to hold tight to that. So that can kind of be a key. It's like, well, okay, it's actually not easier, but you're not just casting out in the open or in the middle of the pond. Now you're casting to the bank, trees, or the grass or whatever, because those fish can't see us, so they're going to go on a structure so they can feed. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And like a lot of anglers already, if you don't, that's okay. Natural colors in clear water, the brighter stuff, so it's easier to see. So when it's muddy, so that's just kind of a little thing to keep in mind. If you got a muddy pond, you're thinking, oh man, it ain't gonna work. Don't be throwing out in the middle. Throw something that goes on bottom or on the sides, because that's where the fish are going to go.
Also work it more slowly.
Right.
Yeah.
So then that's where you use your 4 basic stuff. Okay, are they going to hit top? Are they going to hit mid-range bait? Are they going to hit, either profile, small, big? And then the other last thing is, are they on the bottom? So if you can kind of cover that, it just keeps you from practicing throwing. It maybe get you on some fish, maybe closer to fish anyways. So, but anyway.
Wow, because I can remember when I was young and my dad and I would go to a place and he would see muddy water and he would, well, I guess we're not fishing today.
Right. I think we've all been there. A lot of times when it's raining or something, you're thinking, all right, man, this rain's going to turn this pond on or this creek channel or the lake. And then you get there and it's just muddied up. And then some people just kind of go in a cluster because they're, oh, now I was catching fish last week and it was clear, but now it's muddy. What do I do? So that's what you also got to just remember. If you can't see, what do? They go to something that they can get their bearings of where they're at. And then, but anyway.
Wow.
I fished
never really thought about that.
I fished chick and I was up in the creek and it was pouring rain. I'm talking, I had on rain suits. I was soaked. It didn't matter. And you could watch the mud come down and you could watch fish, bluegill and stuff like that in front of that mud line. And I mean, it was, that's a lot different when you're on the water in a tournament other than figuring out a pond, because that's where you're going for the weekend.
Right.
Oh yeah, I fished mud lines before, particularly in like Lake Erie for walleyes. You just fill that mud line for miles and pick up dozens of walleyes.
Mud line too, where that's like a hidden place where they could be on that mud line and hide in that darker water, but they could still kind of come out in that clear water to ambush. So that's a good point.
Like Finding Nemo in the deep edge.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, ambush from the deep.
Yeah.
Predator fish.
Yeah. Well, going back to the topic that we were just talking about earlier, is finding that lure that's a little bit different, and one day it catches fish, but also that's going to be what your confidence baits will become. I've got some stuff I brought that I get because, like I said, I like supporting smaller companies. I support big companies as well. They help me out a lot. And, but finding that little bit, especially if you're on high pressure areas, like, lakes, community lakes and stuff, or community ponds. There's a lot of ponds in neighborhoods that you can go to, and people's like, man, there's not a fish in here. And then you go down there and do something just a little different. And that's the other thing to think about, guys. So a lot of you bank fishermen, if you decide to go to the lake, you see where the grass is wore down by everybody walking to this one spot. Okay. And then you go down there and fish, and you're now you're thinking, well, I'm not getting bites. There's nothing here. Okay, so take this back. If I'm on a boat, let's do this same on the bank. If you're pond fishing or something. So if I'm going down and there's a boat dock, and you're flipping to the dock, okay, I'm looking for cobwebs. If there's cobwebs on the dock, I know for a fact that he hasn't been through and pitched in there because my cobwebs is there. So that's where I'm throwing. I'm throwing in that cobweb because a fish is going to stay in a comfort zone. Same way with a pond. So if you see where the grass is a little bit higher over here, you may have to go over a few rocks down the bank or whatever. Right. As a bank fisherman, take that little extra step, and you'll actually be surprised. Those fish, they might just be 50 yards down the bank, and you can have the best day ever on the water, or you can fish like everybody else that's throwing everything under the sun.
Or come back with a can of corn and throw it all in there.
Right.
Hey, that's what I do to take kids fishing.
It doesn't discourage me when I see that a lot of people have fished in a spot because, like I said at the beginning of the show, 90% of people are casting out as far as they can because they think the big fish live way out in the deep water. And yes, that's true. But 90% of them are feeding up in shallow water. If they're out there in the deep water, chances are they're feeding halfway down or something.
Right. Yes. Okay. So, and that's a good point you brought up. Okay, if you get to a lake or something and you want to throw out there, okay, but you don't know how deep it is. That's where you do that count method. Okay, if your lure drop, a foot per second, you go 1,000, 2,000, or whatever. So you throw out there, start counting soon as it hit the water. 1,000, 2,000. Okay. It sunk and I count to 8,000. That's about 8 foot. So depending on your weight that you have, will also help determine. You can test it right there on a boat dock around the bank. So kind of keep that in mind. So if you start throwing out there and you think that's where the fish are, count it down different times before you start to retrieve. You may find that secret saying, hey, if I count down 5,000, I'm getting bit. Or if I count down 8,000, nothing happens. So go back to your 5. So that's just something, a guy could do off the bank and have an idea how deep they are out there.
Which makes me think of something. Let's go back to you have your 4 steps and your 4, your top water, your mid, all the way down to the bottom. Now you catch a fish cranking and you threw next to a log. Are you going to repeat yourself and try to duplicate catching another fish and develop a pattern that way? Or are you going to continue to go through your separate 4 different layers and try to catch different fish?
So that's a really good topic to go on, because what you try to do is you duplicate a pattern. So yes. A lot of times what happens is if you go out there and you catch one fish, now you're thinking, okay, was that luck or was there something to it? So you try to duplicate what you just did. And then if you get bit twice or 3 times, now you're on to something. So if you're on the bank, you can maybe eliminate a lot of time of just throwing around and say, hey, I caught it on, like you said, a lay down or a log, or maybe there was some grass that came out on a point, or, pea gravel, that a transition where you had big gravel and then you have little pea gravel. So then now that you caught 2 or 3, you established a pattern. And then that's why you see a lot of anglers, if they're out on the boat, okay, hey, we caught a fish doing this. So the first thing to do is, once you figure out the pattern, you stay on that pattern. Don't go on to the next item. So if you get bit, that kind of gives you an idea. So if I didn't get a bite on top water and I moved to a mid-range bait and then I threw against a log with a jig, well, I'll be dang, I'm going to look that whole entire cove first to duplicate that. And if once you distinguished all that, where you're not catching any more on that, you can go on the next cove or whatever, or if you even run to another pond. So now you already have an idea, hey, this is what they're correlating to. So it's all
very good information. Very good. I like it. You're talking about patterns. One of the ways that face it, nowadays, no matter what lake you're on, no matter where you're fishing, there's going to be other boaters out there.
Right.
One thing that makes a boater mad is when he catches a fish, the guy comes up and fishes right next to him. I don't ever do that. But if I see you, if I'm out there and you're right next to me and you catch a fish, I'm going to be looking around where you're fishing, and then I'm going to go and duplicate what that is. I'm going to find, like if you're fishing a laydown that comes 25 feet out into the water,
right,
and you're fishing the very top of it, I can tell that you're jigging because you're going like this.
Right.
Okay, he's hopping jigs. He's throwing right into those things, and he's hopping a jig. I'm not going to fish your structure. I'm not going to fish half a mile away from you, but I'm going to zoom my boat and I'm going to find a little lake that's half a mile or 2 miles away from you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do the thing. And I bet you I catch fish too. And I did not have to get right in front of you.
Right.
I didn't have to cut you off. Nothing.
We had a live question before I lost my feed
Sure.
on my Facebook, but we're good. We're back up. At what point do you decide, and I'm sorry, I don't remember who said this, but at what point do you decide that was a luck fish and now I need to go back through my 4 steps and try to catch another fish?
Well, so it's for me. I'm sure other anglers will get to that point. So you try to find a common ground. What was the common thing? So you caught a fish, and so you try to determine, okay, was it because I was fishing it slow? Was it because it was something fast? Was it a reaction bite, or was it a bite that because they were hungry? A lot of times you almost have to do a trial and error. And that goes back to if you got somebody fishing with you, whether you're on a pond or on the lake, in the boat, or on the banks, whatever, try not to get so wrapped up as throwing the same lure. Okay, have your partner throw a different lure, and I'm going to throw a different lure, a different size. You know, he may throw a jig, or I'll throw a crankbait, and vice versa. Even if topwater. Okay, so if Brad's throwing an old buzzbait or something, I'm going to throw maybe a wake bait or pop bar or something like that. And then, okay, now you're eliminating 2 lures by that, saying, okay, so Brad just got bit on a buzzbait. Now they're wanting something fast. They're not wanting that stop, go kind of thing. So that's one thing. So when you're trying to figure out a pattern, you may have to, depending on how long of a day you have, you may want to spend 30 minutes to an hour on one particular thing. Everybody knows a morning bite is really good for topwater. Now, once that sun gets up, and they start moving into shade, depending on your structure. Now, I have been in 50 foot of water. 50 foot of water. I kid you not, 50 foot of water. Bluebird day, as bright as it could be. And I'm throwing a topwater, and I was catching fish out there. So,
were they spotted bass?
Do what now?
Were you catching spots in 50 feet of water on topwater?
Actually, largemouth bass.
Largemouths. No, that surprises me. Now, spots, I would have said, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And that, if you had spotted bass or sand bass, okay, then now you're thinking, okay, what's happened? Well, that they must have boosted some shad up or bait fish,
yes.
And that's what they're feeding on. So always, and that goes back to like the cobwebs on the docks and stuff. Look, always keep your eye out. I mean, if you see some water swirling, or if you see a fish on the bank that's getting something, well, then why was that fish there?
And it's silly, but it's really important. Something that I've learned. I can be facing this way fishing, and I can hear a splash, and I know the difference between a bass and a carp.
Right.
And a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's a bass." Hold on, they're different jumps, they're different swirls, they're different. And if you can learn that, then you're not going to go chase a carp because it's moving up in the reeds.
Right.
And down here you have garfish that do that. But we have another comment by Cajun Rob. He said he had 2 bass hit his crankbait this year when he was hung up on wood trying to get it out. And the bass hit it while it was hung up and actually freed his crankbait. Wow. I think that's a pattern. The bass sees something struggling by the wood.
Right.
I'm not saying to go out there and get your $15 crankbait hung up on wood just to see if something bites it. But
Right.
So and then that goes back to your bait selection too. Sometimes you might go through. And it's a lot of times what I like to do, is, especially even on ponds or whatever, is you go with a moving bait, try to get that reaction bite. And then if after you throw it once or twice, you don't get bit on that one log, pick up something else, plastic bait or jig or something like that, and slow it down. Okay, so just because you didn't get bit on a reaction bait, that don't mean that they're going to want something slower. And so that's one thing to kind of think about.
Shoot, my favorite way to fish the wood like that, if it's really thick, is a jig.
Right.
Jig, and I just have, I don't know. I'm still not very good with this thing. I have a big old piece of plastic on that jig. It just has tentacles all over it.
Right.
And then just pull it up and down those. Try to get it snagged. Pull it up and down. But if you can do that, guys, I like to use 60-pound braid. and a heavy action 7-foot long rod, and I pull that out, and people, oh, you're fishing for sharks? Yeah, I'm fishing for sharks.
For sharks.
Yeah.
Because when you catch one, that's what it's going to
And I'll
be.
tell you what, you hook into a 5-pound bass and he wraps you around, you're going to be happy you got 60-pound braid.
Right. And with that being said, you're talking about line. That's another thing you could take in consideration, that line diameter will make a bait fall at a different rate. I've been there where I've got somebody fishing next to me and they're fishing the same color, same lure, and because we're just tearing them up. And then all of a sudden throughout the day, it's like, well, his number of bites are still higher or mine's higher, vice versa. And you notice that one of them you're declining. Well, what happened was he had heavier line. Well, heavier line makes it slow fall, fall slowly, which is the smaller line. The diameter goes down fast, and it gets to that point where you gotta, okay, so you found a pattern, okay, you know what's getting bit, and then if you start seeing that taper off, find the common factor. So is it because they're wanting it slower? Are they wanting it faster? So it always helps if you have some. Most of the time when people go fishing, you got somebody with you, and kind of do a elimination, process. Talk to each other. Hey, how'd you get? What was you throwing to? And if you can kind of find that common ground, you'll come up with a pattern a lot quicker.
I fish by myself, but I talk to myself, because sometimes I need expert advice.
That's true. That's one way to do it.
Well, there's mono. I like to finesse fish. So there's mono versus fluoro versus braid. And then when you're fishing braid, you want to tie direct, because down here where everything's stained, you don't have clear water. You can tie direct the braid. Up north where I'm from, a lot of the water is clear. And then I'm going to use straight fluoro, even though fluoro isn't as good with wacky rigging as mono. It can't be seen as easily.
Right. And then the mono, like you said, it floats.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tends to sink faster. And that's another thing is on a lot of people like to throw braid, which is, there's nothing wrong with braid, but then you have the factor is what's your water clarity. And for all you anglers that are fishing and it's cold, you might stay away from that braid, because that braid actually absorbs that water. And you'd be surprised how many times you might break eyelets because it gets frozen in there.
And
it's frozen.
Casting distance over the day too, because that water's frozen. That line's frozen.
Right.
Even though you can see it and squeeze it, it's still frozen in there, and you lose casting distance. I'm huge on casting distance.
Yeah, you can lose your distance.
You also lose sensitivity.
So.
I have a lot of experience with braid freezing. It's not fun.
Right.
And then I got $30 worth of braid on my reel, and
right.
So just get it. Then it's just time to buy a new reels, because I need a reel for fluoro.
Well, this is great. This is good talk. So, what else was we wanting to talk about?
Did you bring in some lures to show us?
Okay, so that's a good point. Matter of fact, I actually brought some lures. Now, and again, like I said, I'm the angler. I'm going to find something different between I'm shaking baits to see if it sounds different, or am I going to add some blades to hooks or whatever, or if I'm going to use that spike it dye and dip on there. So I've got a couple companies here. So one of them I just picked up, and I tell you what, if you can see these guys, these baits are rabbit baits, and what I like about them is they actually have fox hair. Yeah, so they make a bunch of different stuff. They got that's the fluke style there, and then what I got in my hand here is actually a crawdad pattern, and then I've got shaky head. So you see the feathers on the end of them. It's that fox hair. Okay, so in the colder water temperature, plastic will stiffen up. Okay, so with having the hair for the action part of it, that hair will move more of a natural move to it. So these guys have been kind of my little hidden secret here. They make all different styles. They even have that's the 5-inch. They even have Ned heads, or Ned rigs setups here, and you can do that on drop shots or Ned rigs. And,
that's old school right there. I like that.
Yeah. So
remember back, way back when all the jigs had like little hair on the end of them.
Right. Right. And that's so, like I said, I'm the angler that's going to look for something different. We were talking about jigs. So that company was the Rabbit Baits. This company is the Sasquatch Jigs. So everybody throws jig, but this particular jig has actually hair in it. If we need to take that out, we can. It's no big deal. So these are jigs that I like to throw is because they're different, because they have Sasquatch hair in there. So with that,
Sasquatch hair.
So that's how they got their name. So it has Sasquatch hair in there. But so and
I'll tell you what, man, I do not want to be the guy who has to shave a Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, as long as I don't go try shaving my beard, I think we'll be okay. But so in all reality, so and these are companies that I have reached out to and been able to get stuff. And does it give me that extra edge? Then that's where your confidence. That extra edge gives me confidence that some of these baits are working. Okay, so everybody, these are cool baits. Everybody likes underspins and stuff.
Underspins,
They truly are cool baits.
Yeah, they're cool baits. So you can see
they I like that.
They have. This is a great company, I'll tell you. And the reason why, okay, I know some people are saying, well, you can always buy these at Bass Pro or whatever. Okay, well, these, they have double bearings on them. Okay, there's more quality put in these baits than what a lot of people really think they are, mass produced or something. So these are my underspins I go to. They have 2 barrel swivels on them. I've got different plastics with hair. And I also, what I enjoy about is like this bait. These are clay baits. Okay, so these are a mouse. You got possums. You got glide baits. And they are made out of wood. Some of them. So being the guy that wants to throw something different, everybody's going to throw buzz baits, right? You can buy a buzz bait at Walmart. Everybody's going to throw a buzz bait. So if I'm going to come behind an angler that's already been through there, then I want to throw a weight bait. That you got a Mighty Mouse. Those things are pretty cool. They see if we get that to show up on there. You got the Mighty Mouse on there, and you see it's a weight bait, okay. And then they come up with some other really cool stuff that's like this. This is the possum. They make a smaller mouse version of that possum. And okay, so you got a buzz bait going through. You got 50 anglers that has that. You come in behind them throwing something a little bit different. So again, I'm that angler. I want to do something, especially in high pressure ponds or lakes or whatever. That's why I'm that guy. So
Brad remembers what Chuck Justice told us last week, that you can't throw something too big that a bass won't eat.
Right.
But
Chuck said that a 5-pound or a 10-pound bass will devour. With
one
go, a 2-pound bass.
Yeah, I tell you, there's one time I was on Keystone Lake. We was actually pre-fishing for a tournament, and I'm kidding you not. We were just going across the lake, and I happened to catch a glance. There was a 5-pound bass that had a 4-pound bass in its mouth. And so I pulled over, and actually I'm thinking one was going to be dead. They were luckily both alive. I was able to take them apart. And here's the irony thing of it. So I let the 4-pounder go, and he swims off. And then I was like, wow, this is a cool, that one is at least 5. And I put it on the scale, and it weighed it's like 5.2. I'm like, cool. So I put it in there, and I'll be dang, that 5-pounder didn't go the exact same way as that 4-pounder. So it makes me wonder if he was going to try to go find him and eat him again.
Wow.
But,
well, he was hungry,
Yeah, it's amazing on a predator thing how aggressive fish can be territorial, and that's where the reaction bite comes into. Sometimes if you just get them right there in their zone, they're going to eat it. And then there's other times they would be real finicky, and that's why I go to different stuff to try to get that to get them to eat something that they haven't seen. But bass are real territorial. They are actually one of the dominant bass in our local areas here in Oklahoma. So, but anyway, that's my deals is, pick your water column, pick your levels, pick your baits, and build your confidence. If you don't have confidence in what you're throwing, you ain't going to get nowhere. And that's just honest truth.
And guys, if you're having problems building confidence,
right.
My best advice to you is to bite the bullet, hire a guide, and the guide will take you out. And what are you going to use? You're going to use the guide's confidence baits.
You are right.
I don't want to go shiner fishing. I want you to take me fishing.
Right.
And a weekend angler, you can't afford a guide. That's totally understandable.
Right.
But don't cast something 5 times, pick something else up 5 times, 5 times. You're not going to learn how to fish that bait.
Right.
You're not going to grow any confidence in it. If you want to go fish a pond, take one bait.
Right.
Take a rattle trap and go fish it. Reel in the moss, reel in the sticks. Go fish and learn what's in that pond.
Yeah.
Okay, I know there's a brush pile over there. I got hung up 3 times. Now I'm going to go throw a worm in it. You're going to learn the difference between thump thump of a stick and thump thump of a fish.
Right.
Absolutely. You know what you're saying there, Brad? I'm hearing you loud and clear. There's no substitute for time on the water.
There's no substitute for time on the water. Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
And man, there's been a lot of really good back to the basics fishing talk here tonight. I love it. I just love it when guys get back to the basics. I love it when guys. I love to see fur and feathers on lures now. Just like man, talk back to the basics. That's when I started fishing back in the 70s when marabou jigs, and you had the bucktail jig with the big worm that came out of it, and it was fur. Oh man, thank you, Jacob. You good. I love it when guys.
What was in your childhood fishing at a pond? What would be the one lure that you think that you threw that everybody throws, but now that you are more advanced in the fishing industry, that you don't catch yourself throwing anymore?
The pre-rigged worm.
Pre-rigged worm.
Oh,
okay.
But it had 3 Aberdeen hooks on it, so if you hooked into a 4-pounder or a 5, heaven forbid you hook into a 5-pounder, it was gonna straighten out those hooks. The fishing industry wasn't there yet, but.
Right.
You asked me what I would have used, and that's what I caught 90% of my bass on.
You ever threw one of those too? So that's so. If you go back to your basic, my thing, I remember one of my very first fish I ever caught, and I bet probably over 65%. I don't know if y'all heard of the Beetle Spins.
Yes.
Okay, you got those. You got rooster tails. Okay,
that's my bait, rooster tail.
Okay.
I always have a rooster tail tied on.
People still use Beetle Spins down here big time for speckled trout.
So why do we get away from something that works?
Because we found the next cool thing.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you can't get wrapped up in in the hypes of stuff, but you also you learn to advance with each lure, like Brad said. I've been known to do it where I go to a lake and I'm only have 2 rods on deck, and that's it. So and it's like with anybody, I don't know how to fish this. I don't know, the ins and outs. The time on the water, get out there, throw it, put it in stuff. And then when you start catching yourself, well, this would work in this scenario. So you automatically just taught yourself, okay, now I know what I need to throw if I see a wood or a tree in the water or the grass. Then you start knowing, okay, I know I need to throw this lure, not this lure. And so it just pack light. And then once you get confidence, then you can move on from there.
Here's how I do it, because I am so set in my ways. If I'm going to fish with a tackle company rep or a tackle company manufacturer or a guide, I don't bring any of my tackle. I bring my rods,
right?
And then I hand them to him here, and he rigs me up with what he wants me to use. I barely look at what it is.
Yeah,
I'll glance at, okay, I know how I have to use this.
A great example of that is Del Stronshine. He has the walleye record in Green Bay.
I know.
Resort. If y'all ever get up there, go to Sand Bay Resort. Amazing place. He's got everything you need. You just get on his boat. I got there and he said, "Hey, have you ever, how experienced are you?" And I said, "Well, I left my Zebco 33s at home." And
Zebco 33s.
He said, "We'll take care of you." But a great guide. Most guides have everything. Chuck Justice, he's got everything you need. He'll tell you what to bring. Most guides are like that. So you're absolutely right.
Chuck Justice is next level. That's man. I gotta get up there, Brad, and fish with that man. He's
very great. I tell you what, he will take a shirt off your back or off his back for you.
Yes. I hope he doesn't take the shirt off my back.
No, we don't do that. So again, and you guys out there, don't be afraid. There's a lot of anglers out there that if they're out fishing or something, don't be afraid to ask. Okay.
Yes.
I know the old story about fishermen always lie.
Right.
Okay. So what I told my daughter, I said, if you want to know if a fisherman is lying, look at their thumbs. Okay. Most of the time they're going to have their marks. I've got them.
Bass thumb.
But most of your anglers, if you just are, real cool, laid back, they're going to tell you, hey, this is what I did. And and it's more so. It's more so we need to make sure we keep kids involved. I mean, that's my main thing. I do a lot of the charity work for the burn camps, tournaments and stuff like that, and just seeing the smiles on the kids' face. So I have no problem. I know Brad does it. If there's a kid out there asking me what I'm doing, what am I catching a fish on?
Yeah.
By golly, I'll give you the lure so you can catch.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I'm gonna give you 8 of them. Yeah.
Jacob, just a couple months ago, I love taking kids fishing, you know, and it's a bobber and a worm, and they get to experience and learn, and then, you know, maybe if you get a fish with them again, they can cast, and now they got, you know, hey, I want to move into bass. It goes back to that rooster tail. Let them throw rooster tail. It's going to catch every species. They're feeling a bite. They're learning how to cast it and all of that. Yeah. But yeah, I love taking kids fishing in a heartbeat. And he's the same way. I do want Jacob to talk about the burn camp real fast.
Okay.
Is that good, Jay?
Yeah, please,
okay.
please.
So what this is, this burn camp, it's what it is the burn camp, they put on this big tournament, okay, and they get these firefighters, they get sponsors brought in, and a lot of the anglers, they will get sponsors to where we are taking burn camp victims, and there's a variety. A lot of them, they were maybe caught in house fires. Some of them might have been, they fell off of a four-wheeler or something, you know, and had to have skin drafts, and it's amazing, and it's also touching to hear their stories, their survival stories. And when you go, it's just a raise of emotion. But hopefully that one day where we could take them out on the water, they get backpacks, and we try to buy skincare products for them, hats and shirts and stuff, and it's their day. Matter of fact, the two young ladies that I took out last year had a ball, caught some fish, a lot of laughs, a lot of giggles, and then we had quiet moments, sharing stories and stuff like that, and just seeing them light up and knowing that, hey, they're ready to come back next year. And those stories like that is they are able to help other people that might have just suffered a recent event. So they help them through. So I tell you what, that burn camp is a very awesome organization going on. I recommend anybody, if you're going to support that.
How would somebody find information about this burn camp?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How?
Okay. So they have a Facebook deal on at the burn camp, and I think they have a website on that. And I know we have the one here in Oklahoma. I'd probably need to check to see if they have them for other states. But a lot of times you can get in touch with the burn camp through Facebook, and then I believe they got their website on that. And then they can get in touch with anglers that will be taken. And then, like I said, I was able to put stuff together for the ones that were in my boat. And then the firefighters conventions, they put on a huge thing. They do barbecues, they do dinners and stuff. And like I said, it was just a very, it was just a way of maybe relieving their mental pain and their physical pain for the day. And you're just watching them holding fish, or you're just going out. There were some of them, they said, I don't want to fish. I just want to go on a boat ride. And the things we take for granted. Yeah. You know, I didn't catch no fish today. Well, you know, some people don't, it's not always about catching. It's the memories. I know I have plenty of memories with my granddad, mom, dad, and, you know, I owe them a lot. And then just, and believe it or not, a lot of the time that I have alone when I'm on the lake fishing, you know, and praying, you know, thanking my Savior, Jesus Christ, you know, that's your time. That's your alone time to reflect and also enjoy your time on the water or away in the woods or whatever like that. So, and that reflects back to what brings you back. What's your basics? What brought you to the love of your sport? Yeah. So
they have videos on their Facebook page and stuff, and you can watch some of these kids' testimonials, and you better get some Kleenex while you're doing it. So it's an amazing thing. Yeah.
And it like you said, it's a very heartfelt, touching time. Yeah. You talk to them, listen to them, and it's like anybody else, a famous person versus anybody else. You put your pants on the same way every morning. You just treat them with love. They would treat you with respect, and everybody's on the same page. You're out there, have fun, have a good time, get to know each other, build friendship and relationship on that. So, Anyway,
Okay, guys, if you want to get in touch with this burn camp, just go ahead and Facebook.
yeah. That's where I got in touch with him, was through a Facebook. Yeah, it's the burn camp, firefighters burn camp. It was the name of it.
Firefighters burn camp. Okay.
Yeah,
That's what I was looking
firefighters
for.
burn camp tournament is what I think is what I typed in there through the Facebook, if I can remember correctly. But I will definitely get that info to you. That way we can post it up there later on that. But like I said, I actually, if any of y'all are subscribed to Brad's magazine, what was it, a couple months ago, we did an article on that. So that was a really cool deal. You get to see some pictures on there, and has a little breakdown of how things went. It was cool because they had their own tournament, so it didn't matter what I caught, is what they caught, and they got prizes for it. They got rod and reels that was donated to them. They got prizes for the biggest fish, smallest fish, the most fish, and they even had one of the personnel there caught a turtle. So she got a prize for the weirdest catch, and just seeing their eyes, their smile, and then listening to their stories, and not only on the fishing day and everything, but it's pretty cool. I tell you.
Yep.
It's pretty amazing.
There you go.
Okay, I found the Firefighters Burn Camp website. That's why I wasn't paying attention here for a couple of minutes. I really felt this is something that I really wanted to publicize. I'm sorry it didn't come up, but that's what I got.
Yeah.
But anyways, if you do Firefighters Kids Camp or Firefighters Burn Camp, guys, it's a really.
It really hits you hard, man.
It does.
I know it does. I just got the wind taken out of my sails there for a second.
Yeah.
And
Don't watch anything while you were doing this, because you'll be lost and distracted. And it's amazing.
And again, this is a way for fishermen to make an impact, and also my sponsors, to give them the chance. I mean, I've had Miracle Ear, I had Cool Bait, I've had construction companies. I have so many supporting sponsors when they hear about this, and if there's others out there, be sure, if you got somebody that's going to go fish that, everything will go to them. And like I said, going to the store, picking up things or whatever, or turning the money to the fire, and then everything contributes to that. So
for the kids,
right.
Yeah,
and it says kids on there, and that the cool thing of it is most of them are younger, but there are some that are probably my age.
That's so cool, I think adults get forgotten a lot of times.
Right.
Yeah. That's really good. I'm glad they don't exclude, because it's going to be every bit as hard if you get your life taken away because of a bad burn, and that's what happens. Your life is taken away. I finally realized that when I had this major surgery last year, I didn't like what I was left with, but this is what I'm left with, so I got to make the best of it. And if you have people like you. Hey man, we want to take these people fishing and give just so that for 5 hours they can be out of the drama of their life.
Right.
Wow, that means so much. When I was a veteran and I am a veteran. When I was down and out for a couple years, a veterans organization reached out to me and took me fishing, and
right.
You never know whose life you just saved. You just don't.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
that is so awesome. Thank you for bringing that up.
No, it was a pleasure. I tell you, I hope it touches somebody. And it's like anything, if it makes an impact on one person, then it was worth it.
Yeah, guys, if you know anybody who's suffering from the devastation of a burn, please put them in touch with this organization, please.
Yep.
Do you have any shout outs you'd like to do? Any thank yous to anybody, organizations, people, companies?
Any shout outs to companies, organizations?
Well, I tell you what, like I said, the firefighters, they put on this whole ordeal. And I will say this, Miracle Ear has been great with me. I've got the clay baits, the rabbit baits, cool baits. The Bassin Magazine has been a tremendous support, getting word out on this and on support on me. We got Full Tilt Wrap has always been great to me. And I tell you what, there's Sasquatch Jigs, they've been great. And again, these companies has helped me get to where I'm at, and it helps because
Well,
I remember as a kid going to a store, or not store, but like a tackle show. Okay, I saw a pro fisherman there. He had his jersey on. Man, he was like an idol to me. Besides my grandpa, and my dad. Okay, he said something. He took time to maybe sign a piece of paper for me,
wow.
or something. So because of that, makes me who I want to be. Okay, if I have a kid come up to me during a demo show or something and ask a question, by golly, I'm on my knees. I know Brad could probably vouch for it. I'll get on my knees, get eye level with them, so they know that they have my full attention, because I know the impact it had on me, and I just hope that impact goes through them, because they're the generation that's going to carry the sport on, and that if they learn it, they love it. Guess what? They're going to continue on, and don't tell them how far this will go. So,
that is so cool, because you never know. You just never know what impact you have on people.
Right.
You don't.
And you want that impact to be positive. And if you are the pro there, man, be nice to everybody. Just,
right.
No matter how you feel, that doesn't matter. What matters is how you protect yourself.
Right.
Represent the sport, man. And you are. And thank you for coming on our show. You've been a fantastic guest.
Well, I appreciate you having me, Jay. And I hope people got out there and just get out on the water and have a good time. Have fun with it. Just because you fish don't mean you have to go pro overnight and all that. Main thing, get out there, break it down, break your lures down, break your legs down, and don't overcomplicate things, and just be sure you have fun with it.
Brad, I have to commend you. You're batting 1,000.
Yeah, thanks, sir.
Your guests they're just next level, man. It's next level.
Amazing.
Amazing. Chuck Justice and this guy right here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for talking. Good back to basics, meat and potatoes, great fishing knowledge and stuff that it's never going to go away what you're talking. It's 3 generations from now, people are going to be talking about the same stuff. Look at these. Look at the fur on the back of this thing. It's same. Nothing ever changes. It's still awesome.
Sasquatch hair. I mean, people are going to talk about Sasquatch hair. The white baits, Jay, they come in a white, and it has Yeti hair.
Yeah.
Or old guy hair. Old Sasquatch.
Old guy hair.
Right.
Jay,
like if I grow a beard, it'd be gray. Yeah.
I want to thank all the listeners and viewers and all the questions that we had, and as always, I appreciate everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brad, for once again. Thank you. I appreciate all you guys, and hey, man, guys, have a great weekend.
Thank you, sir.
And Brad, you have a great weekend too.
Yes, sir. You too. I will talk to you later.
Talk to you later. Thank you.